Well, we've had a little look at some wargames models, but those who know me will know that I'm also quite interested in model railways. In fact, I'd say it was probably one of my first loves. So the question I ask myself is, can we apply wargames techniques in painting miniatures to model railways? Do the two marry up? We think they do, so let's have a look at what we've got. Now, currently, I'm in the middle of a small project, which I may do another video for, hopefully, which is a small shelf layout. There's not much room here at Firelock headquarters for large model railways, so one thing that many model railway enthusiasts do is a shelf layout. As this is what it says on the tin, it is a layout on no more than the size of a shelf. It means you don't get to do half the West Coast main line through past Crewe and up to Glasgow, but you do get maybe a nice little yard, a little shunting layout, or a charming little country station somewhere. Plenty of opportunities for operation and plenty of opportunities for modelling. And that's what I'm building currently. So I thought I'd have a little look at maybe a little signal box for this. And in this case, this is the one we've got. Now, if you notice, it's a very, very, very small signal box, and these are quite common on very small rural branch lines, particularly places like the Isle of Wight and down south and out into the West Country. They're literally little more than a shed with the lever frame which would operate the signals, and of course the ground points or switches, or to give them their correct term, turnouts. Now, this model kit is sort of by Pico, but also Wills Kits, who are a very old kit manufacturing company, and they do give a suggested name for it here, and the instructions are inside, really quite straightforward. You just put all 4 bits together and detail, and it even comes with some little cutout nameplates you could put on the front of your signal box. We probably won't use those as we have our own name for this particular little layout, but we'll have a look at it. So, as you see, we have only 4 little sprues. There's obviously a grey slate roof piece. There's the end pieces with the sort of facing boards at the end. There's the front and the back of the building, obviously with the windows there. And there's the base plate where the levers, we've got 4 of those, go in, and also the windows already done, and another, of course, the door so they can get in and out. Now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to spray this in the colours I'm going to use. Now, the colours here are obviously of the Southern Railways, which was sort of off-white and green. I'm actually going to try it in one of the pre-grouping railways before the Southern Railways that later became Southern Region of British Rail were grouped in the 1920s. Before the 1920s, there were many little railways all over the south coast of England, and I'm going to be doing it in the colours that were typical of the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway. So that'll be a similar off-white, but with like a dark maroony red around. So that should make, almost like this colour, so it should make a nice smart signal box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray using our normal Wargames sprays, acrylics, the various pieces. So I think I might just leave that as it is and maybe just clean it up so it's got any residue off it. Just go over it with a quick darker wash just to bring out the slates. But these I'm going to do an off-white. These pieces, because they're white window frames, I'm going to leave white. I might just do that the same colour as I do that, so that when I paint it red to match that, it'll be the same colours. And the base plate, I'll probably do a tan brown colour, just to make it look a little bit like wood inside, just so it's got that. I'll probably do the insides as well. But then again, quite a useful colour. I'll see what the difference is. We may do that. So we'll spray those and then we'll come back and see how it works. Just using Basilica Grey for these slate roofs, just straight out the pot. Nice, quite decently thick coating just over it. Smooth it all over, just so it runs, as we've done with other models, runs into the crevices, stays off the highlights, and just gives a bit more definition to the grey plastic. I think once that's dried, that should look exactly how we need it. Nothing fancy, nothing mad. Just practical. as you can see from this, a very quick stage to do. Let's get it straight, neat out the bolt. What's quite good as well with this is, as well, I'm just painting it actually still on the sprue. Obviously at the end we'll just snip it off, and maybe as we finally put the model together, we're going to just touch up any areas where the sprue was originally connected. But I think for a model like this, normally I wouldn't paint on the sprue, because obviously you've got most Wargames models are kits. Most Wargames models are kits, so you need to put them together. With this, while it is a kit, it can go together fine once it's painted, so you can paint it on the sprue and then assemble. I think in this case, there we go. Well, the Windows frame sprue has dried very quickly. It's a nice warm day here at the Miniatures Workshop. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, we're going to snip off these little levers, because we are going to be colouring those different colours. I don't want to get it on the white frames. So again, with our trusty snippers that we use for many plastic kits, I'm just going to very carefully take off the lever just at the join. It looks like it's not 4 levers after all. It's in fact 2 levers, which are left and right sides to give it a bit more 3D appearance, a bit more volume, as you might say. So there's 2 halves of one, or just put a blob of super glue on that. God, it's a bit fiddly. Just put a blob of super glue on that to assist, and there we are, those are off. So that should be a grand total of 2 levers. Now, the windows, of course, you will note, are not glazed. But our kit came in a rather nice little plastic packet. Now, of course, here at EC Miniatures and also the Miniatures Workshop, we would of course recommend that you recycle all your plastic. But in this case, we're actually going to upcycle some of it. If you look, the size of that is about right for these windows. So I'm going to slice off this bit here and cut some squares of this sort of acetate. And we're going to glue it just behind the window frames before we attach them to the model, so that we've actually got a glazed signal box. Now, of course, if you're being particularly fancy, you could also perhaps cut some of these sprues off here and half glaze it to look like a window had been slid back, maybe for a nice summer's day. But I think we'll just go a bit steady on this one and just put some glazing behind it for the moment. There are other ways of making it look like it's an occupied building without necessarily having lots of static models on it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We may have a signalman in the end, but at the moment, we're just going to give it the appearance of life. So let's cut those out. We're just going to quite literally eyeball it with a sharp pair of scissors, and we'll go down this end here. Give ourselves more actual acetate than we need. Nothing more annoying than finding that you haven't cut enough. So let's get that there. I'm going to go a bit further down, and a bit further down, and then should do it. Snip it off. And now we just need to cut that to fit those and secure them in place. So we eyeballed some glazing, cut it out, and you can see it's not entirely square. We just secured with a couple of blobs of super glue, and we now have rather nice, you see, glazed windows, and they're ready to fit in through the kit, which is now dried, so that's going to sit in like that when we're finished. That shouldn't impede. Obviously I'm going to end up with fingerprints all over it, so I'm going to actually clean the windows before we put the model together, but that's going to sit in quite nicely like that, and just give a little bit more to the actual model. And we've done it with the little side windows as well. So we'll put those out of the way. They're whited out, they're ready to go basically, that part's finished. We will do the levers shortly. I think what we'll do now is just use some of this rather nice dark red Flesh Terrors contrast. Of course you can use many other types of speed paint, but we're going to give it a try with this. Now, what we're going to do, because at this stage, of course, we're not going to accidentally get any paint or any windows. We're going to do the frames as well. So let's just do like the edges and the frames. Just neat, straight out the pot. Just wipe a little off. And just neatly as possible, we're going to go along the bottom. Like that. Oh, that is a nice colour. Oh, that's really hitting the mark there. Very nice. As neat and straight as possible. Let it do all the work for us. Now, if I thought about it, I could maybe even have got some masking tape under it like that. So, in a model this size, you could probably get away with that. Let's just do down the edges as well. Actually, all this is going to be red coloured, so we just need to try and keep it off the wood panelling of the building as much as possible, as far as possible. Let's go across. Whoops, a bit thick there. And there, nice. It's giving some nice shading and highlighting effect here already. I need to do some research. I'm not sure if many railway modelers are doing things like this, or if they're just doing like flat colours, relying on that to look the part. A bit to go. We'll see how ours. I mean, hopefully our own little model railway will look uniquely us in a way. Around the edges there. Now I did spray the inside of this. I'm just going to leave that as it is actually, because you won't be able to really see that bit from the angle of the box and the building, but I will do those bits there. And again, as we're doing lots of miniatures, we're on the whole turning the model round, so we're just painting down. That's a lot more natural to your hand. Obviously sometimes I even break my own rules on that, but on the whole this is going to be how we'll do it, especially if we're doing lots of straight lines. And this model is thankfully full of. There we go, that went down rather well. I'm fairly pleased with that. Oh, no. And mucked it up. That's okay, we can always tidy that up a little, and I'm pretty certain that on the original railways they had really very, very well established painters and house painters painting parts of the infrastructure, so they probably did like proper job on blocking stuff out. So much better than I do. But let's do the back bits as well. Oh, let's just run that there. So we are trying to get a little of the red into the first panel, just to give that shade like that. And it's quite handy still having the sprue attached. It just gives a nice little point to hold it by. Oops. There we go. I need to give this brush a little bit of a conditioner as well after this little project. Again, we're using the Element Games Regiment brush here, which I am always a fan of. Good point, and it can do pretty much, as you see here, all sizes. So it can do 6mm. The last 6mm project was all done with one of these. You can do 28mm, you can do scenics. It really is the brush that does pretty much everything. It's heartily recommended if you're out there looking for a good brush. Go for that one. Artist Optimus ones are also very good, but you're obviously paying a little bit more of a premium for their products. I'd just go with the Element one myself. No, messed that up. Alright, we'll just go with tidy afterwards. So we're going to use a sort of bone colour, just where we need tidying up after it's dried. I'll just give it a little bit of a neaten. But on the whole, we've got the contrast paint into the crevices where we need it. And straight away, that's looking a very, very nice railway red. That's looking smart. I like that already. Right, well, we're going to go around and do these other bits and the facing boards as well. And, of course, the door, so you have to get in. And then once we've done that, we'll come back and look about maybe assembling it all together. Okay, so we've finished off all those little trim areas, and if you notice, we've done a little neating up. That's just the underside of it there. And we've also placed our glazed windows in and tidy things up. So now we're ready to start assembling. We've also put some colours on the lever frame inside there. Red for a signal, black for a point lever, and blue for a point lever lock, which is a safety feature. And we'll just run some super glue along the edges and start to put it together. It's basically a very straightforward box with a lid. So what we'll do is we'll put it together, and then we are going to just tidy up anywheres, like here, just where my thumb's just rubbed a bit of the edge off there. We'll just go over it again with the paint just to tidy it up, and then maybe a little light matte varnish just to help it survive a bit longer. But there's the parts, all painted separately and ready just to put together. And that's what we'll do now. And with a little bit of glue and some patience and some hopefully fairly clean fingers, here we have the completed outline of the signal box. I've also gone around some of the edges just to neaten and tidy up the lines where they've been glued, but that's all fairly neat and tidy. Now you'll notice the door, you can model it with the door closed, but I think in some of these cases it's going to look rather nice with the door just slightly ajar like that, just adding a bit of a feel like there's something moving, or the signalman's just stepped out for a moment, or stepped out to help out with the shunting, or he's just going to pop back in a moment. So yeah, that's where we're leaving that, and the kit rather allows for that quite nicely. Also, should we need to, we could probably get a pair of tweezers and a miniature model of a signalman and just pop him in there at some point. I think the way that the roof fits on is rather permanent, so I can't, it's not like it's a separate roof you could just leave to come and go. I'm going to have to fit the roof and then the centralised panel and then the facing boards separately at the end. But that should all go together quite nicely, so just those last bits to go on, and then it will be ready to have final details. As details we might put are obviously the signal box's name, I go on the front there, but again we'll probably do that as a simple printout, or you can always make your own signs out of small plastic pre-cut letters, as I have done here for a siding board, but at the same time you might simply put it next to each other and that might look quite nice. You'd get the idea of where you were, because obviously the sign is actually nearly as big as the signal box itself. It's only a small ground frame cabin. So yeah, we might put that nearby, just next to it, just to sort of announce where they've arrived and what it is. And there we have it, our completed signal cabin. Quite a nice little kit that, didn't take too long to put together, probably about an hour including painting and prep and so on. And next I think we'll show it, I'll put a picture up so you can all see it in situ on the little layout itself. I hope that we agree that our wargames techniques work just as well with model railways. In fact, maybe even more so. There's some nice textures there. Thanks very much. See you soon.